Hello YouTubers and welcome to Novus Talks with me, your host Novus Gormis. And Nintendo have done it again. They've shadow dropped another reasonably major title for the Nintendo Switch for 2020, and that is Fire Emblem. Not just any Fire Emblem game though. Apparently this is the original Fire Emblem game from the NES that's being localized for the first time ever. Because apparently it was a Japan exclusive when it first came out, until it was later on remade for the Nintendo DS, but as far as the original goes, it was never localized for the West until now. And we're going to talk about that in this video. I've never played a Fire Emblem game. It's not a series that has particularly appealed to me much. I know nothing of it at all, other than what I've seen in Smash Bros. But I was thinking about maybe getting into it. I don't really know, but as I said, it's not something that particularly appeals to me, so whether or not I jump into it is up in the air right now, but the original game seems like a good place to start, especially since it's only going to be $5.99 apparently, which is surprising, but for an NES game with very little changes, I think that's pretty reasonable. I'm surprised but also thankful that they didn't charge full price for that. But anyways, the game itself, it comes out on December the 4th. From what I can tell from the trailer and from what I've heard from fans talking in the comments and stuff, it's mostly the same game. Some differences include like a loading kind of system. Compared to how when you bought games in the eShop for the Virtual Console and Nintendo 3DS, you kind of had a loading kind of thing, like a checkpoint thing that you could do at any time. It seems like it's a similar concept they're going with here for Fire Emblem, which is cool. There were some other features as well, I think pertaining to combat and saving and things like this. Off the top of my head, I can't really remember any of them, but there was a few other details there. But the main takeaway from all of this is that this is an anniversary collection for the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem. And of course, Nintendo did it again. They made it limited. This game is limited until March 31st, I believe. And my first thoughts upon hearing this, I was baffled. Because they saw that we didn't react well when they did it with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. They saw that everyone was pretty upset about that. And yet they've gone and done it again. Now, it is a different situation this time around because 3D All-Stars is 3 old games, or at least 2 of them are pretty old and one of them is recent enough. But still, 3 older games that haven't really been ported to anything, with the exception of Mario 64 being remade for the DS. The other 2 games haven't really been ported to anything since, but they were charged full price and there was no differences made to the game, no real changes. And those were all legacy titles, whereas this is an NES game that people have been emulating for years, and I think there are other ways to play it. I don't really know the specifics of it, but this is something they could have thrown on the NES Online system, but they didn't for whatever reason. Probably because for the physical bundle they're doing, that's one thing they're doing as part of the 30th anniversary. They've put together big collector's edition kind of things, including little art books and a Nintendo Power magazine, which I think is really cool. So even though I'm not a Fire Emblem fan, those things are really cool, and I wish everyone the best of luck trying to get their hands on one of those. That's what I'm thinking is the only reason they didn't shove it on with the rest of the NES games, is maybe because they wanted to do the physical release and charge a bit of money for it. I don't know. But the point is, it's limited once again, and I'm worried that this is a trend. Like a lot of people, I'm worried that there's a pattern developing here. But apparently, I also found out today that this pattern goes on for years before. This pattern has happened before 3D All-Stars even existed. They did a collection for the Super Mario 25th anniversary that was also a limited release. So it seems to be a trend Nintendo do for anniversaries where for some reason it's only limited to that year, the year of that anniversary or something, which doesn't bode well for anniversary titles coming up later down the road. the inevitable collection for Zelda that we're all speculating about for the 35th anniversary next year. At this point, I'm expecting it to be limited edition, a limited release. It's probably going to be like Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess and maybe Wind Waker. They'll leave out a couple of titles like they did with Mario, of course. And they'll charge full price and it'll be limited for like 6 months or maybe 3 months, I don't know. And then there's the potential for a Metroid collection, presumably the Metroid Prime trilogy, which we've talked about 100 times. That is one, however, that actually makes sense to be limited. Doesn't make sense, but makes sense from Nintendo's point of view. When the original Metroid Prime trilogy was released, they released a collector's edition with it that was in steelbook and came with all this cool artwork and stuff. That wasn't a limited release, but it was extremely rare, and like, you will have a lot of trouble trying to find it nowadays, especially for a reasonable price. It's the one I was looking for when I went to buy the game, but I ended up getting the standard edition, but I got the game in the end, so it's not that big of a deal. But so even with the Metroid Prime trilogy in its original release, there's still that kind of limitation to its access to fans, so to speak. Concerning Nintendo's approach with Metroid over recent years, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Nintendo were like, look, people want the Metroid Prime trilogy. We think it would be much wiser to release it for a limited time because fans will buy it up really quickly like they did with 3D All-Stars, and we don't really need to put that work in, especially if they just update it to HD and make it limited for like the month of August or whatever. That's what what I'm thinking is, if Metroid Prime 4 comes out in November 2021, they'll make it limited from August until November. That's what I'm pretty sure they'll do. But yeah, I don't know. I presume there's other anniversaries happening next year. I'm not really certain. I'm not really familiar with that. But if there are, you can bet there's probably going to be some collection as well of limited games for that. But I definitely think this is going to be an ongoing pattern over the next coming year. And I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable, to say the least, because it means years from now, people who have a Switch, who want to get certain games, will have lost out on the opportunity to buy 2 or 3 games, or especially games that are high profile, like 3D All-Stars or like Fire Emblem. And on top of that, Fire Emblem is only a digital copy. There is a physical box from what I'm hearing, but it only comes with a download code and not an actual cartridge. It's very puzzling, but at the same time, they did it with Bayonetta, so it's not something that's completely random and out of the blue. And considering it is an NES game, I can kind of understand it. I don't like it, but I can understand where Nintendo's coming from in relation to that. It's still very strange. Hopefully in the future though, this doesn't become an ongoing trend. But considering the sales of 3D All-Stars, and I'm willing to bet Fire Emblem is going to sell extremely well as well, you can bet this is going to be something that rolls on. And I don't know, it's speculation at this point. I could be completely wrong. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But after this surprise, I don't think I'd be surprised to see a limited release from now on. But we'll just have to see how it goes, really. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Are you Fire Emblem fans? What do you think of this announcement? Are you upset over the limited release? Have you played other Fire Emblem games before? What one's your favourite? Is there any ones that I should check out? I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comment section below. And yeah, with that all said, thank you all for watching and please subscribe. Novus Corves out.